Hello and welcome to the Caliginous Chronicles, a monthly podcast of original horror short stories by Jacob Hopkins, co-creator of the Modern Horrors podcast. My name is Emily Hopkins, and you will hear from me each month as we breathe life into each of Jacob's original chronicles. But that's not all. We have teamed up with Luke Rodriguez from Modern Horrors to curate your audio experience. We are so excited to share these stories with you. The Passenger. Bill watched the clock. The seconds seemed to be stuck in slow motion. Each tick an eternity. When 10 p.m. finally arrived, Bill wasted no time in clocking out. It was a long day of administrative duties, as it always was. He worked on a small Air Force base that was located in the proverbial middle of nowhere. Clocking out required logging out of his computer systems, going through the building's security, getting in his car to drive off base, going through the security at the base's gate, and finally a long, desolate drive through an endless pine forest. When all you wanted to do was be home, this process felt like the most tedious thing a human could be subjected to. Despite making good money, Bill was still driving a 1988 Cutlass Supreme, complete with bench seating. It was an absolute boat of a vehicle, but the simplicity of the vehicle was a comfort in this world of ever-increasing technology. He cruised up to the last security checkpoint, said a few pleasantries to the guards on duty, then turned right onto the long, dark road that cut through the pine forest where the base was settled. When it was this late, Bill hated the laborious drive. There was a constant threat of deer jumping out in front of his vehicle, as well as trying to stay awake and alert. The assumption of the base's location was that there were top-secret technologies or experiments going on, but for Bill, it was simply a daily annoyance. He cranked up the radio to stave off sleep. There were a blue million country stations, a couple atrocious sports talk shows, and an oldies station. Bill settled for the oldies. Put Your Head on My Shoulder by Paul Anka started playing when he first noticed it. A sense of dread assaulted every fiber of Bill's being. In the passenger seat was something. The primitive part of his brain urged him not to look. Stay focused on the road. Don't turn your head. Gripping the steering wheel as tightly as he was physically able, Bill began to accelerate. He had to get somewhere less secluded. Panic was barely being held at bay when the unwelcome passenger turned the radio off. The void of silence was immediately filled by Bill's labored breathing and beating of his heart in his ears, and under it all a horrendous rasp. It was the equally labored breathing of his passenger, but this wasn't from fear. There was an excitement to it. The speed limit was 55 miles per hour, but Bill had the Cutlass pushing over 80 at this point. The lines on the road were blurring past. Bill wasn't sure if it was the speed of the tears welling in his eyes. Fear racked his body to the point he physically hurt. When the blue lights appeared behind him, he was no longer thinking in rational thoughts. His mind went into autopilot. Bill slowed to pull over and turned on his hazard lights. Officer Dowdy ran the plates. 83 miles per hour along this road wasn't uncommon for teenagers. There were long straightaways and very little traffic at night. This appeared to be a worker from the base in a hurry to get home. Quick check to make sure the driver wasn't drunk, and he would send the person along with a strict warning. No need for the extra paperwork. Dowdy noted the 2 occupants, radioed in his situation just in case, and exited his vehicle. When he approached the driver's side window, he found the individual behind the wheel deathly pale and sweating profusely. Perhaps this was going to be a more involved stop than he anticipated. Without breaking his forward gaze, the driver rolled his window down. "Sir, do you realize how fast you were The passenger had caught Dowdy's eye. A lifetime passed on the side of that long, desolate road. Dowdy refused to lift his flashlight and illuminate whoever or whatever was riding in this vehicle. The only sound filling the void was an ominous rasping. At some point, Dowdy's bladder let loose, jarring him back to a state of awareness. You drive safe now, you hear?" With that, Dowdy ran back to his squad car as if his life depended on it. Spinning the car in the opposite direction, he watched in his rear view the flashing hazard lights shrink away, horrified that something may be following. If you'd like to support our podcast, please visit patreon.com/Caliginous Chronicles. We include perks such as early access to episodes, digital copies of the stories, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content where we discuss the various aspects of putting together each episode of the Caliginous Chronicles.